I am currently 17 years old, and like everyone of that age, I am afraid of the future. That is why I would like to know from you, a man over 40, what do you regret the most in your life? What things do you celebrate? Would you make the same mistakes? Do you feel that your life was not worth living? I would like to thank everyone for the tips, insights, and for sharing a bit of your life. I will try to read and respond to all the comments. Thank you. Story 1. Do not keep searching for adulthood. It is a false myth. Just live your life. Find someone special if that is your preference. Have children if that is your choice. Work hard if that suits you. Smoke cannabis and play video games if that is what you enjoy. Just make sure you are doing what matters to you. And if you have a partner, support each other's interests. Story 2. Not saving or contributing to a pension. I did not get organized until a few years ago. Even if you only put away 5%, just do it, forget you have it, and do not spend it. Story 3. I am 39. I regret nothing. I worked through high school as best I could. I did not go to college, which for me was a good decision with no debt. I have worked in sales jobs for different companies, make an above-average income, and have a job I actually enjoy most days. I spent my 20s living life to the fullest but not being irresponsible. I went to parties, owned a motorcycle, golfed a lot, and had many hobbies, including indie game development, which all went to the wayside when I had my kids. I got married in my mid-20s, sold the bike, settled down on the bar scene, and was always faithful. I bet many men regret being unfaithful. I spent my early 30s traveling, learning to program better, and making indie games since it was a hobby I had always wanted to pursue but could walk away from for family needs at any time. At 39, I just released an indie game that was successful enough for me to quit my sales jobs and do indie game development full-time. I have achieved a dream. I am married to a great woman who has always supported my nerdy hobbies. I have 2 kids, and I have just achieved a lifelong dream. Regrets? I am the luckiest person in the world, and you can be too. Just be true to yourself. Story 4. College was difficult. Life became much easier after graduating and becoming more independent. My biggest regret is not being aligned with my wife on life goals. I thought we were mostly in agreement, but we did not clearly communicate before getting married. If I had known that having a career was only a phase for her and that she wanted to be a stay-at-home mother, things would have been very different. Story 5. Accomplishment might not be the right word, but I see comments to the contrary, so I will say, marrying the right woman. All I can say is you will never be certain, but watch for the following 3 things when looking for a long-term partner. 1. How they treat family, and I mean really what they do that others do not. Calling, spending time, remembering birthdays, and making them feel special. 2. How they are with money, mainly because money is often to blame for problems. Not being materialistic is such an underrated characteristic. 3. What they do with their free time. This tells a lot about who they really are and what they want out of life. If you are looking to build a family, then add a 4th, how they are with children. My wife was always so natural with kids. And sure enough, she became and still is an amazing mother. 2nd accomplishment. Taking over as the family host of all events. When I was growing up, we always asked who was hosting events each year: Christmas at aunts, Easter at grandmother's, Thanksgiving at other aunts. We do all events at my house now, and people keep coming back, so it must be okay. Regret? Never going for it career-wise. I know what I'm capable of, but I settled for comfort. Story 6. Biggest accomplishment. Building an 1,100-acre farming operation and a trucking company generating 7 figures yearly. Biggest regret. Getting married. After I had built a large net worth, the traditional wife started cheating, and the divorce forced everything to be sold at auction to give her half despite her never earning an income. Story 7. My biggest regret is not understanding what good grades give you. They don't make you smarter. They give you certificates, certificates that open doors, doors that lead to a better life. I am very smart, so much so that when I was younger, I could solve anything, and everything was easy for me. I thought I was above school classes. They were beneath me. I wasn't consistent. I failed most classes but passed the second exam with 90%. Still, the record showed I failed at first. Sometimes I didn't pass because I never went to class. I opened the book 2 days before the finals, read, practiced, and memorized everything, passing in the end. This made me confident, and I believed life owed me something. When I finished college, everyone would know how incredible I was. That never happened. Years went by, and my grades followed me everywhere. I lost many opportunities because of that behavior. Later, I understood that people who work hard, who have good grades, who show persistence and some intelligence, those are the ones who are given the opportunities. I couldn't get a master's degree, I couldn't get scholarships, I couldn't get exchanges because I wasn't at the top of my class. I missed so many doors. Later in life, I wanted to show my skills. I couldn't get into the best companies because they look for grades. I kept denying the system, thinking I was superior and hating every company. I always thought I could build my own company and be great. That was harder than I thought, especially since I didn't have any money. I needed to work somewhere and only got mediocre jobs. When I was 26, I finally had the opportunity to create my own company. I managed to build a product and sell it. I had some bad luck or bad judgment and ended up with a bad partner who drained my money and will. It made me realize that life is harder and that I am not all-powerful or intelligent. It took 7 years for me to finally get rid of my shares and exit. I was 34 then. Fortunately, because of my entrepreneurship, I was offered a good position and have been advancing ever since. But now I am older, 40 years old. All my friends from school, the ones I helped with homework, solved problems for, or helped with tests, are all in management positions, wealthier than me, some even in director-level positions. I am still at the bottom, scraping by. That is the lesson I learned. This world is made for hard workers, the ones who show on paper their skills, the ones who do and are present instead of dreamers and narcissists. I will pass that lesson to my children. They are very smart like me and skilled, but I will not let them fail like I did. I always thought I would be super rich and famous and that I would help humanity with incredible projects. I never did anything. Couldn't. I didn't have money or credibility. Also, invest in the long term and don't spend more than you make. Story 8. A man in his 40s or 50s is not done. As far as accomplishments go, I am incredibly proud to be a family man. 2 children, a wife, and a lovely home mean more to me than the concept of career. Nowadays, careers do not exist anymore anyway. You just do a variety of things, and sometimes they follow a pattern or a sector. There is no loyalty, so whenever you enter an organization, learn and earn, but do not expect it to last. I am also proud of some things I have created. Not a regret per se, but building your own assets and products is always better than having a job. Also, do not debate, think, or discuss, just do things. Most people get stuck due to analysis paralysis. The best way to do things is by doing things. I suppose I could have ended a few relationships quicker, but I did not know better at the time, and I would not have the life I have if I had done that. I suppose I could have taken better care of my body, no smoking, less alcohol, and less fast food. But again, when you are young, you think you are immortal. It seems unwise to say no to things that make you feel all tingly in the moment. In short, you do not have a second life hidden away in a box somewhere. You are going to make plenty of mistakes. Mistakes are also part of life. Do it for the story. You will not know if something is a mistake when you are making a move or choice. The only way to live life is to live it. Story 9. I regret getting into relationships. The women I have been with prefer me to be a safety net or husband and father rather than a lover. My best and most focused times were when I was single. That was when I was at my healthiest, fittest, and most inspired state. I am a father of 2 now. I love my children, and I do love and care for my wife, but I am unhappy in my marriage. I push on for my children. Story 10. My biggest regrets are always over things I did not do, chances I did not take, and opportunities one let pass by. Nothing major, just lots of little things. But it gnaws at you sometimes. When life presents you with an interesting opportunity, you should grab it. Interesting opportunities do not come along that often. My accomplishments include raising a few great children and some professional achievements I can be proud of. Story 11. My biggest regret is not having enough courage, persistence, and grit to pursue the things I most wanted to do. Instead, I thought I had to follow societal norms when it came to school and career. I found myself stuck doing work I did not care for, having to do it because I needed income to get by. In spite of the above, and because of it, I found myself maturing exponentially in my 30s. I am not quite where I want to be, but I have realized that success comes in different forms. Now I have the mentality to pursue what I want, while at the same time accepting the need to play the jobs game to create a stable platform to provide for myself and others. The maturation process also taught me to be patient and persistent. My bad days are no longer as bad as they used to be because I have learned that everything I do has a purpose. I have also learned that the people around me matter much more than I used to think. I value my efforts and time much more and have learned to say no to many things. Story 12. Regret partaking in copious amounts of drugs, alcohol, and women. While I had the time of my life, the money and effort would have been better invested elsewhere. Looking back, these three things in moderation rather than excess would have put me in a better position today. Story 13. I am a 46-year-old man. My only regret was not traveling for 12 months when I was younger. I am turning my life around for the better by going back to college, retaking subjects, and learning a trade. I have 2 healthy children. Story 14, 40 years plus here. My biggest accomplishment is that I can help my parents now, after they lost their house. I have found a place with them and help them get through life. My biggest regret is that I let my baby sister get pushed over the edge by an abusive boyfriend, and she took her own life, apparently. I should have done more. Story 15. My biggest regret is letting my anxiety prevent me from putting myself out there. I wish I had a large network of friends. It's not what you know in life. It's who you know. I feel that if I were more outgoing and trusting of others, I could have made more friends and opened more doors for myself. I would say, don't get into a serious relationship in college. Have fun. Make friends. Don't take it too seriously until you are ready to settle down and start a family, if that's what you want in life. I also regret not being smart and investing at a younger age. My father never showed me anything about money because he was too busy building his business. Take advice from people. Don't be one of those who thinks they know everything. Learn. Story 16. I was involved with difficult relationships a few times in my 20s, sometimes without protection. A pregnancy scare with an older single mother who wanted me to be responsible for her unresolved issues made me realize the importance of self-control. Men, control your impulses. Story 17. I regret listening to my mother for too long. It almost ruined my marriage. Thankfully, we weathered the storm. I finally wisened up and now keep my mother at a distance. My biggest accomplishments are my marriage, our son, and being a grandfather. I am turning 43 this year and celebrating 22 years of marriage. While I may not have riches or an island mansion, I have everything I need and that I hold dear to my heart. Story 18. Not investing early enough. Invest as soon as you turn 18 or before. Even if it is just $10 per week, do it consistently. Find some safe exchange-traded funds or other index funds. Never stop. Story 19. Well, this could be depressing to come back and read later. Regrets. Various silly, stupid things, mainly being really bad at reading the state of any relationship I ended up in and screwing one of them up. The end of it was welcome. Accomplishments. Surviving years of bullying and various forms of assault and not becoming another statistic. What do I celebrate? Nothing. I've been described by many as suffering from anhedonia. Yet I count myself as lucky. I bought a house in my 20s. It's not perfect and still needs work. I earn enough to be comfortable, but I despise my job. Would I trade how easy my life is in many respects to get a do-over? Sure. Story 20. 0 regrets. Life hasn't always been easy, but everything I have gone through, both good and bad, has led me to where I am today at age 41. That said, I have lived a very lucky life, all things considered, and have not had any health or legal issues. My answer would likely change if I were in a worse place in life than I am. Story 21. To me, it is not worth thinking about regrets. I cannot change what has happened, and even if I could, I would not be where I am now, and I would not change that for anything. It is best to learn from experience and move forward. My biggest accomplishment is helping raise two wonderful children. Story 22. I cared too much about what people thought. Cool kids who were humorous and popular were actually losers. They never achieved anything and were ultimately unimportant people, and their opinions were meaningless. When you are struggling to find your place and your position in the social pecking order, cool kids are doing the same thing. Be kind to people. Lift them up. There is something you can learn from everyone. I loved dance music and partying. There is nothing wrong with that. Monogamy is a lie. Love comes in all forms. The chances are your sexual tastes or kinks, no matter how extreme you think they are actually fairly mainstream and nothing to be ashamed of, no matter what anybody says. The chances of you being in the top 5% of freaks in the sheets is 95% against. Sex with a beautiful woman is pretty much the same as sex with a plain woman. Sexual compatibility is what is important. Dabbling in drugs is not the end of the world. You will look back at your life amazed at how you got away with some things. No matter how bad people are to you, never fall to their level. Karma will always get them, and if you play the same games as them, you will win the same prizes. Treat women with love and respect, no matter how awful they have been or how much they broke your heart. Bad people have to live with being bad every second of every day. You only had to deal with them for a few hours. Pity them. The more outrageous and challenging of public decency you are, the more likely you are to be popular. Run a marathon at any age. The toning of your body, how it will make your eyes sparkle and your skin glow, will make you 3 times more attractive. More so than any diet or plastic surgery can. Run. Story 23. Biggest regret is always money spent and money not saved. Biggest accomplishment has been my career, which is surprising given I was an underachiever in high school. Story 24. At 47, I regret not being more responsible in my 20s and earning at least an Associate of Arts degree for job opportunities. However, at 25, I landed a grocery job that turned into earning a journeyman meat cutter status that pays well. Because of that job, my retirement is projected to reach $900,000 next month after distributions, with very affordable insurance. Also, buying a home and having 2 beautiful little girls in the last 10 years is a great achievement. Having a supportive wife of 19 years helps a lot as well. Overall, even though we struggle a bit, life is good. Story 25. I regret not getting married before 40 because female attention drops significantly after that. I also regret holding on to everything that made me angry in life. Story 26. My biggest accomplishment is retiring before turning 40. I will be 42 this year. My biggest regret is not learning about finance and investing earlier. I probably could have retired even earlier or with more money. My non-finance regret is that I am bad at going out and meeting new people. I just do not like it. So I am single right now. Although I am child-free, I do not regret not having a family. Story 27. Turning 37 this year and feeling nervous that I have messed up my life. I had my first child last year, and my partner decided to leave me. Now I have to pay $1,000 in child support and figure out how to raise our child with a high-conflict co-parent. I have about $400,000 in investment and retirement funds. No debt, no mortgage or property. I make $120,000 per year. I need to focus and make the right moves going forward. I am paying close attention to the advice in this thread. Story 28. When I was 17, I was a complete jerk. I pushed everyone away and hurt anyone who got close to me. I hurt many good people who deserved better. Story 29. Biggest regret. Not managing my money better through college and during my early years in the workforce. I would have been in a much better place if I had put more into savings and lived within my means. Biggest accomplishment. Finally finding the right woman for me. We were married when I turned 42 and now have a 3-year-old son. I am late to all of that, but it is the greatest adventure of my life. Story 30. Not paying attention to the women who gave me attention and chasing the wrong women until I found my wife. Not investing. Story 31. My biggest regret was moving to stay with a woman who was toxic And worse, spending another 2 years being upset that she left me. A huge waste of my early 20s. My biggest accomplishments were getting married to my wife, despite my mom being convinced I would never marry, and the birth of my 2 sons. Story 32. I am 43 years old. I regret partying too much in my 20s and 30s, doing too many drugs, and not working toward my dream job or saving for retirement. I am now putting away 15% of my paycheck toward retirement so I can live at least semi-above poverty when I am older. I did briefly work in the field I dreamed of, but I was foolish and left because of a woman. Story 33. Therapy. Everyone should get therapy, and the sooner the better. Many of the regrets people have listed could likely have been resolved by being more in touch with their own triggers and desires. Story 34. Letting work-life stress affect me and not learning healthy stress coping mechanisms. My default is to bottle up stress and not express it at all. I have no outlets. In the long term, this developed into a neurological disorder that is not curable. It will not kill me, but at this point, I shake uncontrollably in social situations, even when I am having fun. Story 35. Had a couple of daughters before 25, finished 7/8 of a university degree. In my final semester, I got divorced and lost my funding. Didn't buy Bitcoin when it was $1. Did lots of drugs. Lost almost all of my friends, and a big part of my family wants nothing to do with me. At 40, my health is poor, but I worked hard and saved a lot of money. I'm enjoying my freedom and don't really regret anything. My close family is still around, and now there are many kids running around. Life has been a pretty good ride so far. I've been in go mode since I was 10. If you can think of it, my brothers or I have probably done it. No regrets. Though I do wish I hadn't smoked or drank alcohol, had eaten healthier, gotten more exercise, and wasn't so obsessed with chasing women. When you get money, all of that comes easily. Also, the money is good, but construction work and similar jobs will cripple you after 5 to 10 years. I don't recommend working that hard if you don't have to. Have a blessed day. Many of us would give anything to go back to 17. Story 36. My biggest regret is not starting a savings account sooner. This does not include the physical injuries I have suffered. Story 37. My biggest regret is not maintaining my health. Watch what you eat and how much. Stay active. Brush, floss, and see a dentist regularly. I spent a lot on dental care because of neglect. I went through multiple periods of gaining weight and feeling depressed. Also on the list, learn to cook, sew, and play an instrument. Get out and get involved. Meet as many people as possible. Do the things you enjoy when you can. Learn to dance. Volunteer more. Read more. Much more. There is so much to life, and it does not have to cost a lot. Take care of yourself. Be kind and respectful to others. Have fun. Don't be careless. Story 38. I am not 40, but I feel I have had an up and down life that has been up for the last 6 years. I will give you the same advice anyone would give you, but here are a few things I have learned. Your word is important. Always try to keep it. If you cannot, admit it even if you thought you could. Focus on your body, especially flexibility and range of motion. It will help you avoid many injuries. Choose the person who makes you a better person, not the perfect one in your head. Perfect person does not exist. You will probably develop a circle of people who trust you in the next few years. Keep them close. Do not be afraid of hard conversations. They are necessary in life. If you have a family, spouse, and children, they need to come first. Your role as a man is to protect them. Do not start a family until you are financially ready. Learn to fight, even if it is just to relieve stress. 10. Everything will pass eventually. Whatever you feel, good or bad, will not last forever. 11. Unless they brought you into this world or helped you when you were down, you do not owe most people anything unless they are your family. 12. Love women, but do not expect all of them to love you back. Love your friends, but do not expect all of them to be loyal to you. 13. You might be afraid of doing something, but if you really want to do it, do it. A life with regrets will hurt you more than fast food, alcohol, or drugs. 14. Do not rush to grow up. Enjoy your teenage years. Story 39. Save your money. Avoid unnecessary risks. Keep working on yourself. Always strive to be a better version of yourself. Story 40. I am 38 this year, so I feel that is close enough. Biggest regret? Not prioritizing myself instead of my parents and brother. I was too apathetic and nihilistic about my future and focused on making sure they were taken care of, which held me back. This is not to blame them because it was my choice, but it is something I do regret. Biggest accomplishment? Finally realizing how the world works. I left a job to pursue a realistic career and earn more money. It is hard and risky, but the alternative was stagnation. Best advice I can give you: do not sleep with a woman if she is not wife material. Do not work excessive overtime. Do not become loyal to a company. They will never be loyal to you. Be honest and take accountability. Find a hobby and learn life skills outside of work. You might burn out on your hobby, but that is fine. Move to something else. There is so much to do and try, so go for it. If you have spare money, do not let it sit in a bank. Move it into stocks, a 401k, an individual retirement account, or any sort of retirement or growth account. Also, avoid banks and favor credit unions because a bank will use you for your money, while a credit union will at least try to give you some returns, even if it is not much. Story 41. 1. Do not smoke. Set healthy routines early. When you are young, you can create habits much more easily. Just make sure to schedule workouts on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday or whatever the norm is now, because forcing yourself to do it later is much harder. Those are the two important habits I ignored early and regret now. Everything else I would not change. The scars and victories all blend together to make you who you are later. Story 42. Not taking more chances does not mean be reckless. However, allow yourself the possibility of failure. Ask her or him out if that is your preference. In 20 years, no one will remember or care that they rejected you. But there is a chance they will say yes, and then who knows? Be smart with money. Whether you have a lot or a little, use it prudently. Story 43. Regrets. Smoking. Not taking better care of my teeth. Not saving enough. Occasionally becoming too comfortable and not challenging myself. Working too much. Accomplishments. Lots of travel. A great career. Amazing children. A million memories doing things I love. Taking risks and improving myself. General advice. At 17, your whole life is in front of you. Take risks and embrace discomfort. Find ways to travel and expand your mind and experiences. Life cannot always be a high. There are long periods of quietness and normalcy, but there is a beauty in that. Be content with yourself, but never stop learning. Be curious. Do not underestimate the value of compound interest. Financially, putting a small amount away today will be worth a lot when you are 40. Similarly, small and healthy habits will serve you well later in life. Do not spend too much time sitting idle. Laziness breeds laziness. Get up, move, and take chances. You never know what tomorrow brings. Story 44. In my 20s and early 30s, I decided to let tomorrow pay for today. I am now in my early 40s and have no savings. I have resigned myself to never retiring or owning a home, but I am almost out of debt except for my car and student loan. I appreciated my young adulthood, but I wish I had worked more so I would be further along. I am on the opposite side of the normal work-life balance. Story 45. Not learning financial responsibility earlier. Learn to invest and start saving sooner. Enjoy your life, but make sure that you save as much as you can. I have friends my age who are mortgage-free because they manage their finances well. Money cannot buy happiness, but financial security does reduce anxiety and brings peace of mind. Story 46. I don't really have any regrets. I made mistakes and wish I had done things differently, but at the time I thought what I did was right. My biggest accomplishment was running a marathon in my early 30s. I'm not much of a runner and have to put a lot of effort into exercise, but I committed to it and trained for nearly 3 years. Over 10 years later, looking back at how much I trained is frightening, but I'm glad I did it. Story 47. Regretting not taking better care of my health by sleeping more and drinking less. Don't get me wrong, it was a lot of fun, but I wish I had built better habits so that, for instance, working out every day now was not such a chore. Other than that, no regrets except for the fact that I bought the wrong apartment back in the 2000s. I had two options and chose the one that brought me about $50,000 in profit when I sold it, instead of the other one that would have brought me $300,000 in profit. I could not have known, but it was disappointing. Story 48. I was very anxious and insecure. It really affected my dating life. I did not understand or manage it well until I was in my 40s. I wish I had been able to address it back in my 20s. It is what it is. Story 49. I regret not finishing college my first time. I eventually went back in my 30s and earned my bachelor's and master's degrees. Story 50. I regret nothing because I am the sort of person who tries very hard to never revisit earlier decisions unless it is to learn a lesson. At 60, the question of whether I would have done things differently rarely enters my mind. It is all done and finished, and to give you an analogy, replaying old games where the points have already been allocated means nothing unless you are doing it to learn a lesson. Story 51. At 40, I have realized I did not appreciate how quickly time went by. You start to feel invisible and then realize that time is precious. I do not regret. I now appreciate. I can only imagine as we get older, the impending likelihood of death makes us take less for granted. You are 17, stop asking these questions because ignorance is bliss. Story 52. Spending more time with aunts and uncles. I had a few who I was really close to. One uncle and I went fishing at least one night a week every summer. In my early 20s, I got busy starting a career, chasing girls, and socializing with friends. My uncle got busy with his grandchildren and his business. Before we knew it, 2 years had passed and none of our fishing trips had happened. Then he was diagnosed with aggressive brain cancer and was gone within a year. I would give anything to go back and make time for that one last fishing trip. Spending too much time in relationships with someone who makes you unhappy will never make things better. Story 53. I went back to school at 25. Sharing classrooms with people nearly 10 years younger than me was humbling. Living well below the poverty line, working during the night and studying during the day for years was also hard. But that sacrifice meant I could get the education I needed to live the life I wanted now. I am proud of my younger self for the courage to make that hard choice. My biggest regret? Probably that I did not take my education more seriously when I was a teenager, which meant I had to do all the above. Story 54. Waiting too long to get into good physical shape, travel, and save for retirement. I would also add neglecting family and friendships to the fullest. You want to explore them, but those are two-way streets. Story 55. My son left today to join the United States Navy. I wish I had been more present for him and less focused on my career to provide for him. I would give anything to go back and spend more time with him. Hug your kids every day and enjoy every moment. Do not take it for granted. My biggest accomplishment is him, a fine and respectful young man. Story 56. I think my biggest regret was wasting a few years of my life on drugs, alcohol, and the party scene in my mid-20s. Took me until about age 30 to eliminate all those bad habits. I still have temptations. My most significant accomplishments include successful businesses, becoming a millionaire, being entirely self-made without a college degree, and 20 years in martial arts. Story 57. Every person is different. My personal advice is to never give your employer everything because they may turn their back on you. Story 58. There are many comments about marrying the wrong partner. Honestly, I see the wisdom in those posts, but do not avoid love altogether. I feel like many men, myself included, overcommit to relationships, perhaps compromise slightly on values or goals, and then end up feeling stuck when you give your all and do not receive enough. Be honest, be kind, and show love. Expect the same in return and find a true partner, not just someone attractive you want to take care of. That is exhausting. Story 59. I am 41 years old. I regret smoking. I regret my addictions. I regret not setting my life up better. I regret not taking care of myself physically. I regret letting death shave 5 years off my life, but no one explains how bad the morning is when you lose people. My biggest accomplishment is that my daughters will be better people than I was. Story 60. Biggest accomplishment. Becoming the first member of my family to graduate from university and also earning a master's degree. As my parents immigrated to Australia with nothing more than a few suitcases full of items and being unable to speak English, I am glad I made them proud. Biggest regret. Not addressing my anxiety and depression at a much younger age. Mental health awareness was not common in my youth, and I wish I had dealt with it earlier in life, as I missed out on many opportunities due to those dark voices and thoughts I experienced. Story 61. Biggest regret is waiting until marriage to have sex for religious reasons. I should have had more sex in my younger years. Biggest accomplishment. Next month will mark 20 years of being self-employed and running my own business specializing in floor covering, carpet, hardwood, luxury vinyl plank, and baseboards. I am a licensed contractor in Northern California with 2 full-time employees. Last year was a record-breaking year. I made well over 6 figures financially. Story 62. Accomplishments. Healthy, mostly happy, financially stable, and working in an industry and position that I like. I might be able to pay off my mortgage within a couple of years, which, if that happens, will be my greatest accomplishment to date. Regrets. Not creating a routine of working out, doing dishes, small chores, and cleaning daily. I would always let it build up and then complete these tasks all at once when I had large chunks of free time. But once you settle into a routine of work, family, friends, and relationships, all that little stuff builds up quickly, and there are no long periods of free time where I am full of energy. At best, I have a free day to myself, and I usually use most of that time to recover from the week. Story 63. I don't regret the following, but I see many of my classmates and colleagues do. I worked very hard when in college. I didn't party much, but that didn't mean I didn't enjoy time on campus or with friends. I made sure to give my best to actually learn from college and also get a good score because you never know what will come in handy later in life. I graduated summa cum laude. I see many people my age now regret not putting more focus on academics and not working harder to gain skills and put more effort into their initial jobs. I have no regrets in that regard. Story 64. Everyone has regrets. If they say they have none, they are lying to you. Controversial take. But hear me out. You cannot take every path in life. It is simply not possible. You can be proud of the decisions you made and even happy with them. But even wildly successful people with great jobs, hobbies, families, and creative fulfillment suffer from what-if thinking. It is a part of being human. The key is getting the most enjoyment from the decisions you have made. Know that not every door in life is one way. Do not like your job? Go back to school and do something else. Unhappy in your relationship? End it rather than continually wasting your time. The danger is in wallowing in regret without taking action. I simultaneously have many regrets and am happy with my life. Story 65. I think the only things you will ever regret are spending too much time at work, not spending enough time with the people you like, not telling people what you really think, and not having the courage to live a life full of adventure. I left a cult in my 30s and basically started my life over. I got fit, bought a few motorcycles, visited about a dozen countries, some for more than 2 years, learned a few languages. Spanish fluently, Portuguese conversationally, and Mandarin poorly. Spent a lot of time working on myself, improving my people skills, and learning how to be happy. Founded a few startups. None were wildly successful, but each was a fun journey. Spent a lot of time volunteering, including overseas. Own a modest house and a forest. My life is pretty much exactly what I want. More a product of learning to be content with what I have than having things that would make people envious. Story 66. I regret worrying about my future when I was in my 20s. In the end, everything is good. It was just wasted time and I stopped some potential I had. Story 67. Not 40 yet, but close enough. My biggest regret is easily wasting my 20s worrying about what others thought of me. I spent so much energy trying to impress people whose opinions ultimately did not matter. My biggest accomplishment is not career-related but building real friendships that have survived decades. Also, start investing early, even small amounts. Your future self will thank you. And no, I would not say life was not worth living. The hard parts make the good parts sweeter somehow. Story 68. I have two regrets. 1. Not taking better care of my body when I was younger. Not kissing Patricia Medina when I had the chance. Accomplishments. 1. Earned a Master of Arts degree while working full-time. That was a grueling period of my life. Started and ran a somewhat successful small business for 7 years. Moved to France from the United States and became a French citizen. Raised two amazing daughters. We just put an offer on a country house where we intend to live when we retire, or sooner if possible. All in all, I feel that my accomplishments outweigh my regrets 100-fold. Story 69. Make time for your friends. I have seen many people abandon those they grew up with for their spouse. Sometimes the spouse gets jealous and does not allow them to spend time with friends. Do not let that happen. I suggest setting aside 1 day a week for yourself and your personal social life. To see your friends, pursue your hobbies, and have your own life. Many people devote their lives entirely to their partner and wake up feeling trapped a few years later. You must realize that having time for yourself, and allowing your significant other to do the same, will improve your relationship, break unhealthy patterns, provide topics to discuss, and give you both space to express yourselves and breathe. Story 70. Well, I'm nearing 40, and here is the biggest regret of my life. Always stay close to your family no matter what. Story 71. You are never too old to do things that bring you joy. I am 41 and I still enjoy playing video games and building Lego. I am married with a great career, but I have played games all my life. They are my little escape from the real world for a few hours each week. Story 72. M60 here. Biggest regret. Not getting divorced earlier. Greatest accomplishment. My 3 beautiful children. Story 73. It's not regret exactly because I love my life, but if I had to change something, I would have started having children earlier and had more of them. If you want to have a child in your life, then every year you wait before having them is one less year of your life that you will spend with your child. When I was younger, I thought things like men are lucky not to have a biological clock. But that is not true. Your biological clock is that you are going to die. I am 42 now and my son is 2. I am in excellent health and expect to be with him for a really long time, but I know that when I am 75, I will really wish that I had had my son 10 years earlier so that I would only be 65 when he was at that point in his life. Knowing him now, knowing what it is to be a parent, it is the most meaningful thing I have ever done in my life, and it is not even close. I understand all the arguments about how having children young makes it harder, and how hard it is to get ahead financially in the modern world. Those arguments are true, and I have said them many times myself. But none of that changes the fact that if you start earlier, you have longer with them. Food for thought. Story 74. I have had a successful career and am financially secure in retirement. I regret not having children. I married late because I was focused on my career. This was my wife's second marriage, and she has 2 adult children. One of them has had 2 daughters in the last 2 years, so I am experiencing being a grandfather, which is wonderful. This further illustrates what I missed by not having children. Story 75. My biggest accomplishment is being happily married for 30 years and raising 2 children who are kind, gentle, wonderful, and happy people. My biggest regret is having been short-tempered and not understanding toward my wonderful wife at the beginning of our marriage. Every day when I wake up, I look at her and think about how lucky I am that she stayed and that I grew out of it. Story 76. In college, I majored in a profession that required passing tests set by the Industries Guild. If the state sets a test, I can usually pass it by using test-taking strategies to determine what they want to hear. But a private test designed to weed out people who lack knowledge always defeats me. It took several years to realize this and transition into a related profession without tests. Story 77. Wasting time worrying about what others think. Spending time with anyone you do not intend to marry for the right reasons. Wasting money on partying. Trust me, you will have your whole life. Story 78. I regret not pursuing the girl. Young and inexperienced. I still think of her 35 years later, and I know that is probably not healthy either. Hi Claire. Story 79. Biggest accomplishment. Living a life of intense self-reflection and maintaining a simple, low-stress lifestyle. Biggest regret. Not seeking therapy sooner to address self-hatred and low self-worth. Story 80. No regrets. My life has had some downs but mostly ups. It's amazing now. It's all part of the journey. But don't use the word fear. I fear nothing. It's all an adventure. I can't control most of it anyway. Have fun, try everything you can, and enjoy the ride. Story 81. I have not had sex with 2 or more women at the same time yet. My accomplishments are many. I have a very good job with a salary most people would consider excellent. I wrote a book, a movie, and a play, and I started my own company. My biggest accomplishments are also my biggest regrets. I have been letting my writing languish in editing and struggling to make my business the thing I do for a living rather than a side project I am continually trying to get off the ground. I believe my biggest accomplishments are yet to come, so I would say my biggest regret is not achieving them earlier in life. That and the 2 women at the same time experience. Story 82. I am 43 years old. My biggest regrets are being unwilling to settle down when I was younger and being scared of having my heart broken, which stopped me from telling women how I really felt. I am well past that now, but being single and dating is a lot harder as you get older. I also regret not finishing a degree. I doubt I would have stayed in the industry, but I should have gotten my degree. My accomplishments include personal growth. I am a good person and know my value and self-worth. I also managed to buy a house, living alone on an average wage. My dog loves me. I should add that I do regret some missed opportunities for meaningful relationships and sometimes feel lonely, but I am pretty happy with my life. I have a job I do not hate, am relatively stress-free, and have time to pursue my hobbies and travel. Story 83. More or less in order. Not telling someone I was being abused. Not joining the United States Coast Guard. Not accepting the job I was offered on Baffin Island. All 3 decisions were rooted in fear, so I guess I could sum them up as not confronting my fear. On the other hand, if I had chosen differently at any of those moments, my path would have turned in a different direction. I would never have met my wife, and we would never have had our children. Those are the most important people in my life, and they are here because I chose the way I did. So, story 84. The only regret was going into business with a friend. It involved too much trust, not enough due diligence, and resulted in a lost friendship as well as significant liability and stress. Otherwise, I am very happy. Story 85. I wish I had educated myself sooner to self-manage my investments. I really dug in at 50 and taught myself. Then I began running an investment account independently. I have learned a lot and am now comfortable managing a portfolio myself. Brokers and banks take too much in hidden management expense ratio fees. Figure it out in your 20s if you want to maximize your retirement savings. Story 86. No regrets. I have always been pretty lazy, but somehow I just keep stumbling into good things. Or maybe I am content with little. I do not know. I have a selection of good clothes, some furniture, my bicycles, my skis, and a computer. That is apparently everything I need to be happy. Story 87. To be honest, I did not work hard enough. I played hard and worked a bit, but I wish I had consumed knowledge at a faster rate and did not spend so much time on devices. Story 88. Find something that you love, that you are good at, and that people will pay money for. Work hard at it and have more money than you need. You will have much more freedom compared to everyone else. Story 89. Biggest regret. Wasting 18 years of my life with an abusive narcissist. Second biggest regret. Turning down a job at Apple before they launched the iPhone and became the huge company they are now. Story 90. Not pursuing an education sooner. I worked unpleasant jobs and focused on having fun. Traveling, playing in bands, hanging out with friends, late-night drinks, really late-night drugs, casual encounters, and never taking anything seriously. I still could have done all of those things, but with better 9 to 5 money. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.